Climate change activists keep wandering into traffic to cool the earth, and Europeans are finally fed up.
Out the way!
Especially when this wall of welfare caused a car accident involving a pregnant woman. Ooh. So some British conservative politician replied to the video, stating they need to go after the angry driver with the full force of the law. But then the oil activist snapped at him, inferring that articles that he's written are causing the violence on the protesters. So it looks like it's open season now, as in Germany this truck driver has had enough. And after removing the activist, he gets right back under the truck, but is somehow bewildered at the idea that he got hit. So it's a common theme now, as this guy's trying to drive around the nonsense, so this vehicular vermin scoots under the car and looks so hurt when the obvious occurs, as the Germans are beginning to aggressively end these incidents. And for some reason, they keep rushing back like roaches. Now this protest actually caused a serious accident, but a German publication reported on the story that roughly translates to "Rabid blonde faces 5 years in prison," as after the protesters glued themselves to the ground, the group began removing them from the street, where they specifically complained about the blonde woman that no one knows who she is. But the police are actually looking at the climate activists as well, and it doesn't appear any criminal proceedings have begun. Now I understand, that's just a Google translation of a German article, but what's crazy to me is how they treat these climate activists like toddlers. Just because they throw fits and sit on the ground and pout as means to get what they want doesn't mean they should not be tried as adults, because their unemployed behaviors are actually causing car accidents and injuries to people with places to be and things to do. But hilariously, the Just Stop Oil activists are now being blocked by a new group called Just Stop Pissing People Off.
And we know that disruption is uncomfortable, but it's necessary.
So not everybody has the time to peacefully protest their protest, and not everybody wants to do time for peacefully ending their protest. But luckily, they're constantly owning themselves, as their protests pump tons of pollution into the air. Their oil traps work, and the glue they use really works.
An seinem Finger und das macht er mit Absicht, um aufmerksam zu machen. Ja, aber das kann schon passieren.
So much that they could actually lose a hand.
Warum du machen das?
So why do I cover when they stop orchestras?
So that's why they were here.
Spray down stations. And finger paint for alternative fuel.
And we're calling them out on it, unacceptable.
This is what they want, right? Me shedding awareness of their cause to millions of internet dwellers. But no, the more we see their fatherless antics, the more we don't believe in their movement. And whenever I see clips of this, I open my window and blast the AC, drive all the way home in first gear only, and order delivery from whatever restaurant uses the most styrofoam of the tuna with the most dolphin contents. Now obviously I'm joking, but what I'm serious about is not trusting these activists and politicians. Because as far as climate change goes, I don't know, it may very well be a huge problem. I'm not a meteorologist, but I'm also not an idiot. And anybody that wants you to give up your gas stove while they own a boat is literally just testing how dumb you are. Just look at the US presidential envoy for climate, John Kerry, telling us how doom is upon us.
Literally, food production for an entire continent could implode. Last year, the Rhine River was down to inches. You're seeing glaciers that are now absolutely predictable as to when they will be completely gone. I'm an optimist. I'm genuinely an optimist about this.
But as most of these pollution politicians do, they fly private. And look at him just squirm when he needs to verify if he owns a private plane.
Lies that I hear, which is this private jet. We don't own a private jet. I don't own a private jet. I personally have never owned a private jet. And obviously, It's pretty stupid to talk about coming in a private jet.
Just testified under oath that you never owned a private jet. Never owned or
I personally.
your family? By your family?
Personally, yes. My wife owned a plane and she sold the plane.
You flew on that plane?
Not in a number of years, but I have flown on it, sure.
Now, it's not news when a pathetic politician panics when the peasants give him even the slightest amount of pushback, but what I don't understand is people can be aware of the hypocrisy and still pledge their allegiance to the cause. Like when a congressperson claims that we just had the hottest day in 120,000 years. Several people go online to question exactly how she came up with that figure, but no, far-left social media sites like Reddit's r/World News just ran with it, giving thousands of upvotes, comments, and praise on what an emergency this is. And if anybody wants even a discussion about how maybe we don't know the exact temperatures from over 100 millenniums ago, they're immediately met with downvotes. It's almost like, hey, if we're going to enact policies that will cause mass starvation and poverty nationwide, maybe we should base those decisions on something more concrete than "we said so." But on the population concern, they're just outright saying it now.
When we invest in clean energy and electric vehicles and reduce population, more of our children can breathe clean air and drink clean water.
But when WhiteHouse.gov did their transcript of Kamala Harris's heresy, they're conveniently translating her Bidenese to English by saying she meant to say reduce pollution, not reduce population. And even if she did mean pollution, does she mean her pollution or the peasants' pollution? Because whenever they say reduce emissions, it's never promises to eliminate her motorcade, turn off the AC in her offices, or eliminating any of her life luxuries. It's always just them volunteering your efforts through force that you finance. Just look at how Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau plans on tackling the climate crisis.
What we learned from this COVID crisis, we will be applying to the climate crisis.
Which is interesting, because the New York Times just walked back a lot of their statements on the virus, how the official number of deaths was an exaggeration, and the majority of the immunocompromised didn't face additional risks. I don't know about you, but I remember when both of those facts were used against us in order to force compliance on the masses, and if you challenged any of those so-called facts, you were immediately silenced, and now they're outright admitting the tactics they used on the virus is what they'll use on the climate. It's almost like they're using the words virus and climate as synonyms for the citizens. Which reminds me of this random meme, pointing out how the people that want to take away your two-way reserve it for themselves. The people that want to eliminate emissions reserve it for themselves. And most recently, the people that wanted to take away your ability to leave your home, make a living, or even breathe fresh air reserved it for themselves. Because that's what this comes down to. It's really hard for me to believe that the bar is on fire if the guy that's shouting it's on fire just goes back into the building and orders a drink. So red pill your friends and share this video, and if you appreciate my concise, lighthearted commentary on what's really going on in the world, hopefully I've earned your subscription, then go check out the video on what happens when privileged activists collide with other privileged activists.